right, welcome to our post round one discussion.
We're gonna
Especially with the draft coming up this week, it's very interesting to take a look at how ours went and maybe how the real one will go.
Yeah, definitely. I think that for the most part, especially the top five, I mean, those are the players I'd expect to be there. The top 10 players-wise wasn't absolutely crazy. There were some interesting team fits that we wouldn't necessarily expect, but definitely, I think the value is pretty consistent for the most part.
Especially in relatively looking at our mock, I would say these are mostly the same players we expected to kind of be there. So, I would expect that in real life too.
I mean, and then number 2 is Zach Wilson. The draft started at 3. We kind of knew it to be that way. It played out that way. For me, I'd say the draft started at 4, but the Niners are just doing a lot of stuff in real life that makes you think that they could be going any number of ways. But I think at 3, Fields, that's the right choice if you're just looking at what they did on tape and the physical tools they bring.
Absolutely. And I think,
run this Shanahan offense in Tennessee with Tannehill. He's a better runner than Tannehill, and he has that upside to be a better thrower. I think you can really create a system around him that optimizes his running early and then kind of phases that out as he becomes more comfortable within the offense. So I think day one impact, he's an upgrade over Jimmy G.
Absolutely. More on that one. That's why I'm very adamant, because I think his upside's higher than everybody else after Wilson. So I think, that's a smart pick. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't necessarily love it, but I don't hate it either. It's going offensive line. It's going a great offensive lineman. And that decision, especially the quarterback who isn't mobile, is always going to be a good one. They have weapons. Like I would have loved to see a Pitts there, and that was a thing that they had in those Ryan years. Is there's a great target over the middle. They had it in Tony Gonzalez, who's more of just a reliable hands guy, but it gives them a dynamic over the middle that they didn't have. But I think that they've got that Hurst, so he should be fine as a tight end. And they have Ridley and Julio. So I think that their weapons are definitely good. I mean, like, they have a good crop of receivers, so they'll be fine. I just would have liked to see Pitts is my best player on the board, so I'd love to have seen him go as the best non-quarterback, but offensive tackle and a good one, so hard to argue.
I'm just more shocked they stayed at 4, considering some of the teams below them were more willing to move. I mean, I would have figured, especially if you take that Saints deal at 4, I mean, that would make perfect sense for them, because they...
Oh, yeah, I can't understand how the Saints gave up quarterback value, but we can talk about that later.
We'll get to that later.
So I'd say he starts at guard and then kicks out like a Tunsil did, or like Jonathan Ogden back in the day. I think, and he could use a year at guard based off, because his biggest issue for me is how he's going to anchor at the next level. So if you give him a situation where he just needs to figure that shit out, I like that as a trajectory for his career. But there's always the fear when you put a tackle in at guard, is just that if you leave him there and you never move him out, and then you're just killing your value. But if you're smart about it, you can get him to develop better, and then he's your stud left tackle after this year. Yeah, I think that they could have gotten the value, but the offers might not have been there. People are lower on Trey Lance, and people are definitely lower on Mac Jones. So if Fields isn't there, their offers might have dried up very quickly.
Fair enough.
And it's, we got a lot of offers for Jamar Chase at 6, but I doubt that New Orleans even thought about it until the pick was up, and they made a rash, quick decision. That wouldn't have been there. That wouldn't have been there at 4, because it's the option of all 3. You feel less desperate to do it. So they might have been in an awkward spot with that. And then Denver trading for Darnold kind of killed that too. And the Panthers wanting to stay with Bridgewater for some reason also killed it. Which they wouldn't have traded with the Panthers because of interdivision, unless they gave up a ton. But then moving on to your pick, which was a surprise for sure. I don't necessarily agree with the decision making on a NFL team building standpoint, because the chemistry that Chase and Burrow have is something you can't really manufacture, and it's very valuable if you have it. But that being said, we're not building a real life team.
No,
we're building a Madden team. Chemistry isn't a stat between wide receiver and quarterback, so that's not going to matter when you're talking about building a team. And Kyle Pitts is just a freak athlete. He plays a position that you just didn't have anybody for. I don't think you just might as well have not played a single tight end all year. So, position of need, best player on the board. We're in a Madden league. The pick made a lot of sense for me. It was surprising to just hear it being called because of the Jamar Chase, but I understood it. And then going on to things that we don't understand, New Orleans moving from pick 28, giving up their entire future. They're going all in on Jimmy G with this. And they didn't seem like they wanted to go on with Jimmy G. But, like, the player was not worth 3 firsts, but he is certainly worth the 6th pick. And the different value between the 28th pick and the 6th pick is probably about 3 firsts. So, I see all that. But I don't understand them going all in on the team in the state it's in because of the moves that they have made. And then they had to make afterwards because of these moves. I mean, trading DeMario Davis and Malcolm Jenkins and cutting Lattimore, like, you've made moves that have just been not win now moves. So then to make the ultimate we're going all the fuck in move didn't make sense to me. It's just it didn't speak to a plan going into this. It's just, oh shit, that guy's available at exactly where we expect him to be available. I'm gonna give up the farm.
Yeah, and here's my fear is if this blows up, like season, I know because especially a few guys that going up in cap, especially.
Yeah, they'll be in a better situation next year cap wise, but a worse situation.
Well, here's the thing: you got rid of Marcus Williams and Lattimore, so you kind of stripped yourself of a lot of the young talent that you would have had on this team heading into. Like, if you have a little more young talent, like I could see it because you could still like propel into the next regime and kind of suck for a year and retool, but like just I don't feel they have the foundation to kind of do that, and I seriously worry for them after the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think they also had to. The thing with having a killer draft class in 2017, like they did, is that you have to pay that draft class. So they kind of got put in a terrible spot with that too, combining with a lot of their older roster. But there was definitely a path where they could have kept all their young guys and been set up for the future, and they never fallen off either. They could have stayed, and I think they'll be good-ish next year. I don't think they're going to be bottom 10, but I don't think that they're going to be realistic competitors, and that's what Jamar Chase is trying to give you. Their offense is going to be good, I think, but I really worry about that defense doing anything.
I worry for that O-line because Ram's gone, and
because of his contract.
I mean, you probably can't.
4 more years.
Oh, jeez.
So they got to resign Armstead now. They don't have a choice because they have next year, but they'll have to figure that out. But then we can move on. Washington football team, Trey Lance. People didn't like this pick. I liked it. I mean, it's exactly what they came here to do. They came up to 7, and I didn't necessarily love the move to 7 because I thought that 6 was going to be for a quarterback and 4 was going to be for a quarterback, and then they're just shit out of luck. Like, I thought that was potential. So the earliness of their move, but it worked out exactly as they hoped. They had their choice between QB 4 and 5, and they took who they thought was QB 4, and I would agree as the upside play. So I could have seen Mac Jones for him. I wouldn't have torn that apart because they're trying to win now. But Ron Rivera, good culture. I worry about their offensive coaching, just being creative, but they'll be fine, I think, with Trey Lance. Yeah. Especially the Niners in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of the overarching theme of all these quarterbacks is whichever one goes to San Francisco is great.
Right.
And now moving on to
receiver actually during the offseason by any chance?
I don't know if they've. I'm not sure on that. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, because that's the one aspect their team's kind of missing. If that offense has one more guy. Yeah, but I think I mean they've got a. Well, here's my question though, because who exactly is the starter for the football team? Because they don't have Fitzpatrick and Which.
I mean, I think he showed a lot in that playoff game. I wouldn't be surprised if he.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, because since it's in this league and it doesn't really affect his development, I would be shocked if Trey Lance is playing year 1.
Yeah, I think even if they didn't have Fitzpatrick and they had Lance, Like, so if it's just Heineke and Lance, in real life, Heineke is playing for a few games, and you give Lance half the season at least. But they're going to be playing Lance by playoffs, I bet.
I would agree. That
now
brings us to pick number 8, Devonta Smith out of Alabama.
They did a weird trade swap for this, which didn't really make sense to me at all. Because what was the incentive for the Broncos to move above the Panthers in this when they did? And I think they said it was for Jamar Chase, but also they've got already all these receivers. Like, they have a team that doesn't have a lot of holes.
Even if Miami doesn't make that trade, like, Miami's taking DeMar. So
I don't know why they thought. They must have thought that another team was going to move up for a quarterback.
Right.
Which, that's not necessarily crazy. Another team moves up for a quarterback, all of a sudden the 8 pick becomes a lot more valuable because it's a top 3 player.
Right.
So, like, I get it to a certain degree, but then you panic and you just take another wide receiver when you already had like Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy last year. I take Jeudy. Like, he's better than KJ Hamler and not probably better than Courtland Sutton overall. So, like, you're taking a wide receiver 3 on a team that you're hoping Sam Darnold works, but I'd have loved Slater here a lot more. Both these teams, actually. Slater would have been a much better pick.
Well, they got Orlando Brown.
Yeah, playing at guard.
And but here's the thing, though, is like if you're going up for a quarterback, like Trey Lance is guaranteed going to get picked to your face if he fell in front. So.
Well, yeah, they weren't going quarterback because of the Darnold thing. It was just if you're going offense.
Well, who's trading up for Mac Jones at that point? You're not going to get a king's ransom.
True. I mean, if you're just taking as like a handicap and they gave up Drew Lock in case they worked out in real life. So that was kind of like that could have been an insurance policy too for Darnold not working. But this team's kind of in a weird spot because they're kind of really ready to win now. Then they're also just not. I thought they were going to be moving back instead of staying or taking a corner, which
I could have seen them moving back with like
especially the Eagles who knew that. Especially if the thought was that the Broncos are going wide receiver, like, okay, well, we know that the wide receiver getting taken by Giants, but which that would have been awkward for the Eagles because they already accepted a trade to move back, which never made sense from trying to get it out of you. But okay, now we can talk about the Panthers taking J.C. Horn, who's gotten a lot of hype recently, but he's cornerback 4 for me. Like, I don't see top 10 player when I watch J.C. Horn play. He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
He's a pretty smart player. He's got good technique, but like in this corner class, I don't see him as CB1 for sure. And I also don't see it for their team. I don't know who's going to be on the offensive line. Like that's
about
with Slater still sitting there. Like you could patch up an okay offensive line around Slater and somebody else. I don't know who's going to play quarterback for them. Like Bridgewater is their long-term answer. Like it feels like they're heading towards we want to get Howell or Rattler next year.
Right.
Which that's fine, but first year corner is not going to be ready to really contribute. So you're just hoping that you've got but they went defense last year too. I mean, they got all defense. So I would say that was an interesting decision. But you like getting an extra pick. If they were going to make Horn as to get 8, then grab the extra 3rd. Whatever.
I want to track that because the 4th they got, actually they dealt to the Kansas City Chiefs, it looks like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. But in the meantime, because they let Mouton go for some reason. And I just don't understand that. But
yeah, so kind of interesting decisions by them. And then 10, the Cowboys, Surtain. That's been penciled in for a long time. Great team fit. He's my corner 1. Technique-wise, he is that good of an athlete, too. I think people sleep on him as an athlete just because they have this idea that he's not that athlete, but he is. He is a 4.41 or something like that. Like, he's that athlete. And he is technically sound, great instincts. Like, I just, with Carolina's going corner, they should have just went Surtain.
Yeah, it should have been Surtain. Or I guess I understand why you don't go Farley, but
because of the injury stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
So to bring back up the Kansas City trade, they got they moved down a spot. They got a 4th. They gave that 4th plus their 3rd to move up into the low 2nd to take Elijah Molden.
Oh, okay, see, then I don't like this at all then.
Yeah. I don't
I mean,
get
I
it.
like
Why,
Elijah Moore a little bit.
why go secondary twice when you have so many holes on your offense? You just let Samuel go and you let Mouton go and you let Okun go. So who's on your O line besides Paradis? I don't get it.
Yeah, if they would have moved up to like actually when they moved up, I was afraid they were taking my guy in the second. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
So now we can kind of get into our kind of highlights of the rest kind of segment.
Yeah. Oh, Patrick Surtain.
I talked about him already while you were
Oh,
looking
my
up
bad.
trade. So
Sorry
kind
about
of, yep. So I like the Chargers getting Slater. Great value for them. He should have been a top 10 player, but the board didn't fall that way, I guess, somehow. So, and then also the two that were like my steals, and I was torn between these two, but my number one I would have picked was Asante Samuel at 30. Because if there was a corner that I was going to reach for the top 10, it would have been Samuel. If I
Right.
was reaching for one of those guys, between him and Horn, it's pretty close for me. But if I was going to reach for a guy, I'll take the guy who's got all the instincts and ball skills, and like I'd have taken that over. And Carolina, I don't know what defense they're running, but in real life, I believe they run the off, cover 3 man, which is not Horn's game. So I would like to see Samuel in that system better. But again, I don't think I would take either of them top 15. But if I'm going to reach for one, I'll take the guy that I would have a little bit higher, at least in my eyes. And then Rashad Bateman is the other one.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, like for Miami to get him, the reason why I wouldn't grade their trade very highly is because they keep doing this over and over again at nauseum, and it's just like at some point you've got to get the players. But that being said, you get a guy who is a tier below Chase at 28. I mean, that's really good value for that trade. So I don't believe that they expected it. I believe they were expecting to take, somebody who is
I probably think they
Elijah
were going to
Moore or something. Who I like Elijah Moore, just not as that same
I was
level.
expecting they were going to wait till the second round to get their receiver, and they were going to go get defense right here at 28. Probably would have been Jordan Phillips.
Yeah, or something like that. But it's just they didn't. I bet they didn't expect, or maybe Najee.
Oh yeah.
But with Bateman still there, they moved back up to get Najee, which that was. So if I was doing a low of the round in Madden, it's not a low, but Najee trading up for a real life thing, trading up into the first to take a running back, that's just not what I would do.
Yeah, no.
In real life,
I'd be there.
in Madden,
especially when you got to high second already.
Yeah, it's going to work out great in Madden, but in this, I wouldn't have done it. So it's kind of a difference between real life and here, what I would be valuing. It's going to get a good grade from me in a grade thing when we're talking about their offseason, just because we're playing Madden. I mean, running the ball with a great running back is more important than your line, but not in real life.
My big steal is Caleb Farley at 19. That's tremendous value at 19. If you're asking me, I don't know how you get that lucky. I was pretty confident, he was going to be gone pretty soon. Like I was thinking, if the Vikings had to stay, that was their guy, if not Darsaw. So, and same with the Bears as well. I mean, just they really lucked out with Caleb Farley here, and I think that's probably the steal. I mean, the guy has, in my opinion, at least top 15 talent in this class. And I mean, you really luck out there for the Browns to get him, especially at a position of desperate need. That's, in my opinion, at least up there on the highest value grades in the draft. Probably one of my favorite picks that has been made.
Yeah, if you'd have told me 3 months ago or 2 months ago that Caleb Farley was going to get picked 19 in our draft instead of like 8, I'd have called you crazy. Like, and the back thing being weird and stuff. But I still don't think that. Again, if there was a corner I'd take top 10, I would just stick with where we were at before the herniated disc, rather than trying to scramble and pick something different.
Yeah.
So that's
after that. I mean, like you could argue Jenkins and JOK, but I would think like that's not too far off of where they were expected to go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Miami taking Vera Tucker, kind of, you could throw up a coin, but I mean, for the Lions to get a JOK at 21, that's also really good value for them.
I don't like the Merrick pick, but I'm not high on the safety class. I don't think that any of these guys are going to be that much difference makers. I think there's some quality starters in there, but I don't think that he is a top half of the first round type guy at safety. It's a position that isn't necessarily that valuable either. Kind of low key not. Like Derwin James, I think was picked in the teens too. Like that's a different level of prospect you're talking about for Merrick. In a class that isn't weak, like this class is stacked in a lot of places. So to reach for the safety here, and he probably isn't there after. And I knew that they were, they said they were going for Mac at 16, which I understand. They didn't go here for Merrick, but they did end up trading up for it.
Actually, wow, their draft sucked. Oh my gosh. Oh, because I think they traded theirs like second, and so that confuses me even more because you let Bobby Massey go. So I was thinking that was Tevin Jenkins for sure, or at least
100%.
Kwity
I had locked
Paye.
him Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, it had to be Kwity Paye or Tevin Jenkins, and I mean either way you flip that coin, it would have been great value at 16. But I just don't understand this Mowry pick.
Where's their
Maybe
next
I could
pick?
get it if it was like early second. I could get it. Just
Mhm.
they have so many other like gaping holes on their team. Their O-line is a gaping hole, and they need another edge presence as well. I don't get it. Even if they went Farley, it would have been really good value still. So just really confusing.
Yeah, their draft. I mean, because Davis Mills is their second pick, too.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
Merrick to be your only pick up there, they should have probably been.
That's
I
the
don't know
only
if they had
guy
any
you could
offers.
see starting day one, and you just got rid of Hicks. So ideally, I was thinking, you're gonna maybe if Mac wasn't there, you try to trade down. Like see if you can catch a team like the Buccaneers trying to move up for Jenkins.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did. They moved up for Jenkins at 20.
Yeah,
Which
that's
I
what I
think
was thinking
moving up
too.
for Jenkins is why it wouldn't get like a deal of the draft level because they moved up to get him, and he was.
Yeah.
I would have had him higher, but with the tackles falling, it kind of shrunk everything into the middle. So they got good value, but moving up for him is just never going to be that like. Holy shit! What are they? How'd they do that?
Yeah.
Kind of move.
Another pick goes without saying. Baron Browning at 24.
We've been avoiding talking about it the whole time. We just kind of danced around a little bit.
The elephant in the room, do we? How bad?
It's hard to give the pick anything more than a D. I mean, like it's like a D.
That's being
plus.
really generous. For me to give it D is really generous.
It's more of just like you're taking a guy. I'm gonna actually look up his composite mocks real quick. It's just like I think he's in the 90s, like in a lot of mocks that I've seen. And it's just like I don't.
Well, here's the thing. I don't hate the player. It's just that like as a value point, like you could have waited high third if you were really worried. I mean, you had pick 55. Like you had a lot of second round, there. If you really badly wanted him, I mean, you probably don't even have to trade up with the Ravens to get Marshall then. If you just stick with what you got, I don't understand that decision.
Yeah, if you lose out on him, what your consolation price for that isn't crazy. Composite mocks have him at 74 out of 322 mocks. But like if you miss on him and you get Jamin Davis or in like kind of where I'm sitting on this, like Dylan Moses, kind of a similar like I mean, I don't know if you're
Bolton
losing
maybe
that much. And I think they drafted another one of these guys that I would have said would have been like, oh, if you missed on him, you would have been fine. And it's just like, okay, well, you already drafted the guy that you could have missed him on, and
Pete Warner.
I don't see the hype on him. Pete Warner was the kind of guy. I think is that who it was?
Yeah, it was Pete Warner.
Pete Warner, like it's just one of those guys. Like, okay, if he gets picked in the third, then there you go. You have a different guy. You could end up with, or if you valued it at the second, you could have gone.
Yeah, and they had 2 second round picks, so I don't get it because by passing up on receivers here, which by the way, I mean Tooney and Bateman were there, you would have got great value there, and then you don't even have to give up. I mean, they gave up a lot to move up to 40. Like they gave up a ton to do that. I don't see the sense in it. I mean, if you just waited, like I guarantee he would have fell to 46 at least if you were really worried. There was just way too much talent on the board for anybody to take Browning anything that early. Just I mean, who was
Yeah.
gonna take him? Who was gonna take Brandon Browning over Jamin Davis? Because like I just don't see it.
There's Zayvon Collins still on the board. If they would have gotten Zayvon
Yeah,
Collins there, I would have been fine with it. And I don't think Zayvon Collins is the kind of guy they were looking at necessarily, but like,
yeah,
I mean, I would have had Dylan Moses over Browning. They were pretty close, but like I would have had him over him.
yeah.
Based off what I thought of them at the like kind of watching them, like they're similar levels, but like in the third
Right.
is where I was thinking of these guys. I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
of them in that second round. Even a Nick Bolton would have been somebody out of. He's a little bit smaller, so that's why I didn't necessarily think he was that comparison for it. Jamin Davis is much more similar composition to him, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you could have gotten much better value for similar impact with some of these other guys.
To guide us into the next pick of controversy, I mean that Kadarius Toney. Before we move into talking about the pick itself, the trade. If the Pats just take the receiver here at 24 and they take their Brown in the second round, I have this as an A grade or like an A grade move for them because then they got the value at 24 and then they still get all those picks in the future and it would have been fantastic value for them. Which unfortunately that does weigh down their grade from an otherwise pretty solid draft. But yeah, then from the Packers standpoint, this is concerning value. I think right up there with Jamar Chase level controversial value.
So what I don't understand is them if they make this move and they're trying to make because again, this is another one of those I'm trying to win now, right?
Yeah.
But like if AB versus him, what's the what are you getting extra out of that for your team this year?
Unless you don't think you'll have AB next year,
which you're not going to have AB next year. They're not going to be able to re-sign him.
But even then, like you could probably still get like you've got Alan Lazard, you've got Devonta Adams, you'd be fine.
Like Tony's going to be great. Like I think Tony would be a great fit in Green Bay in real life. Like I think
if they had traded into like the third or second round and given up significantly less, they probably still get a sensible-ish receiver.
I just don't think that any trade for them into this draft made any sense. This is the best case scenario for me, at least, of player they would have gotten in this range. They said they wanted JOK, and when they traded for that pick, that was a pipe dream, I thought.
Yeah,
but if he falls, then that's fine. But that's still not even that great because you're asking for a very difficult position to translate immediately, and for him to be a anchor of your defense if you're trading that much for him. So you can win a Super Bowl. And that's not going to happen with a linebacker at this point. Like, you need to give him time. I mean, even like Devin White or Devin Bush, like those guys, like they're still not ready. Like White looked good in the Super Bowl, but like he just blitzes. That's what he does. Like Levante David is the stud of that group. Like you're not asking for these guys to be the anchor of your defense this young for a Super Bowl winning team. It's just it would be an incredible season one for JOK to be that.
Yeah. And I mean, coming out of the draft, his ratings not anyways going to be high, and you're like super stacked at the middle, like linebacker spot. So I just don't see it. I mean, if they were desperate enough to get a receiver, like you trade to the late second, you take Diami Brown or you take Tutu Atwell or whoever is left in the late second, like that, then it makes a little more sense. Like I could see it, but
I just don't think a rookie was ever going to give them the impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Because after this, the way their team's looking, it's basically looking like their plan is to try to go all in this year. But those picks could have gotten a lot more for this year value.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Houston and tell them that you want Brandon Cooks to cost $1 million this year, and you give them this package, you get a better receiver year one. I mean, you're not going to give them this much even. But I'm just saying, like, okay, shit, we'll pay Brandon Cooks all the money and let you have him. Like, because like then you're getting better impact for today, and you're not completely destroying your entire future.
What if they gave that up for Henry Ruggs?
I mean, that would have been better, but not good.
It would have been at least slightly more sensible, but oh well.
No, it wouldn't have been. Actually, no, I'm actually going to say no, it wouldn't have been. Because I would have.
If they gave up like a second, a first, and like a 2/3 in there for Henry Ruggs, like okay, I could semi-accept it.
I don't like Ruggs that much either. Like we can talk about the Raiders.
Well, I get like they wanted one more guy, and I think they expect like they need a guy who's going to break out in his rookie year. But Like you're taking such a gamble, and I don't see it because by 2023 your team's in trouble. Like just even next year your team's in
Yeah,
trouble cap
next year
wise. So
they're capped out, and I think it seems like they're heading towards we're gonna trade Aaron Rodgers next year.
ooh, jeez, man.
It seems like the only thing that makes it, if they're looking at their team, the way it's set up is they're going to start losing people because they have to because they're up against the cap. And it's
Yeah.
like, do you extend this out? They maybe could extend it out one more year. I could see that, and they could do that. But like, they're going to try to time this thing up to whenever the Packers try to move on from Rodgers in real life.
Right.
But you have to get Rodgers to sign an extension after next year. If you want to get that value for him, you have to get him to agree to an extension. Which, is he going to? I don't think he's going to. Like,
that's the thing is also they've got a lot of guys who are kicking up in value. Like, who do you lose?
The offensive line is going to start falling apart because they have no means to add anything to that offensive line. And Elton Jenkins, I think, is going to be up for his contract in 22. I could be wrong. He could have one more year. But, like, you're looking at a sinking ship for your Rodgers.
Yeah.
You gave up a lot for a lot of older players. And then also you gave up a lot for just one receiver. Which that's better than what they've done in real life a lot of the time. But, like, I don't know how Rodgers looks at the situation and says, yeah, I'm going to sign a 2-year extension because it just feels like they're going to get rid of you at that time.
Yeah.
So I think the only time they have leverage to move him is, because Rodgers is older, but he's not going to be off a cliff for a while.
That's the only way out of this deal.
You could go to a team like New England and say, hey, New England, I want my picks back and I want some of yours, but you can have a Hall of Famer MVP quarterback for next year because they're going to be stacked. They're probably still going to have cap room because of the way that they set their contracts up. So, like, if the Jets thing, if Wilson doesn't work out, their team could be looking really good. And if Wilson's not there,
49ers or Jets, if Fields doesn't pan out.
The 49ers don't have anything to trade you, but you could ask for their quarterback.
That's true.
I mean, you could ask, okay, well, we want Fields and we want a bunch of seconds, and that's not. But I think that they're looking for Love to be there long term. So, just like the Packers are in real life. They're like, I hope that works. And I don't know. It'll be.
Well, here's the thing: is now that you've given everything away, you've completely sold your future. You kind of have to go all in now.
Well, they're going all in. They've already been all in. They've been all in for a while.
Oh, they got to keep going because that Bucs team is stacked.
Yeah, the Bucs. They're fighting an uphill battle, and I understand how are we going to get better than the Bucs? They've drafted perfectly for 4 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm worried for them. How about the Raiders? Interesting first round. We can wrap it up with them. We got Rondale Moore going over Bateman, and we've got Christian Barmore going at 27. I actually don't mind the Barmore pick. I think it's okay value. I may have been hating on it a little too much, but I think it's okay value. It's just that they had
going to be
a lot of other needs
in real life.
I think maybe. I just think in a Madden league, you need like Jalen Phillips would have made so much sense here. I just don't see the sense in this. I mean,
I
go Rondale. So you got Jarvis, Rondale. I mean, you got two short, speedy receivers. So you've got no deep threat because you lost Aguilar. Like all you've got is I don't see it. I don't see any sense in that.
Yeah, they're trying to trade Carr, I think, which then it's just like, where are they going with this team? I just don't like Ruggs. He was such a project coming in. I don't know why they gave up on him.
Yeah, and he's going to break out next year. He was going to break out. Yeah,
it seems like they wanted Jarvis Landry. It's like, Jarvis Landry is going to unlock our offense, and he's not going to. People keep wanting him to, ever since Miami days. And like, Cleveland got him. Oh, he's going to be great. And the only thing he did was bring in OBJ. Like that's the only thing he really did. And even then, that was a trade. So like,
do you want to hear some heresy?
Heresy, okay.
I think in retrospective, the Browns did a good job. They actually did pretty good. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth. I can't believe.
I think the Browns did a really good job. I think that
it's really caught me by surprise.
The moves they made back and forth, up and down, I don't think they added a lot of actual value out of all of that. But being able to get the corner and then being
Yeah.
able to move for a receiver like Ruggs, who was, he's still the top 15 pick or whatever, even though maybe he shouldn't have been. He was, and he's got that speed. So I think they did a pretty solid job.
Yeah, because getting into the draft, the amount of flip-flopping they were doing, was concerning. So I don't know exactly how their future picks look, but I mean, to get that cap off from Jarvis to kind of free you up over the next year, I mean, considering the rest of the AFC North is looking like they've got tons of picks and tons of money, you're probably going to need to have that money. And to get Caleb Farley here, you get some young talent. I mean, they're doing what they have to do to stay on the cartwheel.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. They're trending up. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a 12-win team, 12-13.
Damn, with that schedule?
Even with the schedule, because if you think about it, their schedule is difficult, but everyone's playing on that similar schedule, and the teams are jockeying with. And it's like, do you think that the complete team they have doesn't surprise the Packers in a regular season game, or in a regular season?
That's true.
It's just and also it's not like they won't be favored against the Bears, Lions, Vikings, that level of team, and they're going to be favored in all of their division games. It's a tough division anyway, so you see them taking a couple notches in the AFC North, but looking at, and they weren't the division winner, so not being the division winner last year, were they third even?
I think they were third.
They're playing all the third place teams
because
from last year.
Ravens had to play the Titans, so I would assume they were third in the division.
So they're playing all of the third place teams. So they're playing Houston, who could just be nothing. So they're getting a more favorable schedule, even in.
Do they have the Eagles?
Yeah.
No, wait. You guys, we had them last year. We had that division last year.
They don't have the Eagles.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be the Giants. No, Cowboys. They get the Cowboys, which is a tough draw actually with Dak.
Yeah.
But they could beat the Cowboys. They're a better team.
Anyways, before we get too rambly, anything left to say?
No, I think we're pretty set. All right.
Yeah, I think we covered this first round pretty in depth there. Well, we could talk about, how do you feel about the way the O-line panned out, just in terms of ordered pick? Obviously, Sewell, Slater, Darsaw, that was about right. Then you go Vera, Tucker, Jenkins, and Radunes.
If I'd have had a tackle fall out of it, it would have been Radunes over Cosme.
Yeah.
For the day one impact. But he went, for the Bengals, looking more long term. He also gives you, which I guess Cosme does this too, but he's a very good move blocker and gives him a chance to run more wide.
That's the big reason I picked him. I'm in love with that.
But Cosme did have a 9.9 RAS, 9.99 RAS score.
Yeah.
So he's athletic enough and he covers that space well. I would have definitely had, if there was actually an O-lineman to fall out of that first round, it should have been Vera Tucker of all those guys. Because tackle is more valuable.
I'm probably with you on that.
And I
don't really have him highly on my board either. Especially considering he's going to play a guard as well. I don't.
It's true. Edge rushers. He does bring up a good point. Edge rushers falling out. I am not as high on the upside of the first round for these edge rushers. I think about the right amount of edge rushers went in the first. Could be surprised that, okay, there's 3 or 4 that go in real life because it is a very valuable position. But I just don't see this class having that crazy level of upside, except for Phillips, who has the injury concerns. So it's just how much stock can you put in those injuries? I could see 3 of them going in the first, and it could be any of the top 7 being in the first. It's not crazy, but because it's any of the top 7 that could go, I would expect a lot more of them to be taken day 2, early day 2.
Let's see. Should we wrap it up, or should we bring someone on?
I'm gonna head out, but if you wanted to bring someone else on, you could.
Well, I'll just discuss with them on our own.
Okay.
So that wraps up our round 1 discussion. Thank you guys for coming on. This one went pretty in depth, I'd have to say.